I never thought moving into a quiet lake community would turn into the kind of fight I thought I'd left behind years ago, but that's exactly what happened the summer my wife got targeted by our HOA. They didn't come at us with paperwork and polite warnings like you'd expect. No, they came with threats, trespassing, and eventually with bodies ready to push her around. What they didn't count on was that she wasn't alone out there. Standing next to her were the two most loyal partners I ever had in my life, two retired military K9s, Titan and Nova. Those dogs weren't just pets we picked up at a shelter. They'd been by my side overseas, trained to take down armed suspects, calm under fire, disciplined like soldiers. After we retired, I promised them a peaceful life, but when the HOA started poking around, that promise got tested in ways I never expected. It started the way these things always do, with a note taped to our door. The president of the HOA, a woman named Marjorie, wrote in bold letters, "Remove the dogs. They're lowering property values." I laughed when I read it. Dogs lowering property values, that was a new one. But my wife Rachel didn't laugh. She knew how these boards operated. She'd seen neighbors bullied with fines, dragged into lawsuits, harassed until they gave in. To her, it was the first warning shot. A week later, another note slipped under the door, this one unmarked. "Comply or it will get worse." And right after that, we noticed a drone hovering over our backyard, dipping low enough that Titan started pacing, and Nova growled from the porch. One night I tracked it with binoculars and watched it land right on Marjorie's balcony. When I confronted her at the next HOA meeting, she didn't even deny it. She just smirked and said, "Neighborhood safety requires oversight. If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear." That line stuck with me. Oversight. This wasn't oversight. This was harassment. Soon after, we started seeing boot prints by our shed gates left ajar. When we knew we'd closed them, noises in the yard late at night. Then came the so-called compliance officers, 4 men with clipboards citing Municipal Code Section 14B, demanding we tear down our fence. But when I checked county records, that code didn't even exist. One of them leaned in close, his breath hot with arrogance, and muttered, "Some rules aren't written down." That's when I realized it wasn't about fences or dogs. It was personal. The breaking point came one clear Saturday morning. Rachel was out front tending to her flowers, Titan and Nova lounging in the yard. A black SUV pulled up and outstepped the same 4 so-called compliance officers, with Marjorie standing behind them, phone raised like she was live-streaming the whole thing. One of the men barked, "Remove the dogs, remove the fence, or we remove you." Rachel didn't back down. She straightened her shoulders and said firmly, "This is private property. You have no warrant, no authority. Leave now." They didn't move. One stepped forward, puffing out his chest. "We don't need a warrant. HOA authorization is enough." Rachel didn't even flinch. "You're trespassing. That's a criminal offense." The man sneered and lunged for her arm. He made the biggest mistake of his life. Titan was faster. The shepherd launched like a missile, slamming into the man's chest, knocking him flat on his back with a growl that rattled the air. Another one swung a metal rod at Nova, bad move. She darted sideways, latched onto his forearm with a controlled bite, and locked him down without shredding him. Years of training came flooding back. You could see it in the precision of every move. "Call them off! Call them off!" Marjorie screamed, her voice cracking. Rachel's command cut through the chaos. "Nova, hold!" The dog froze, jaws locked, pinning the man in place but not tearing him apart. Controlled, disciplined the way we trained them. The third thug tried to flank Rachel, rushing in, but Titan spun at her signal. "Drive," she shouted, and Titan barreled into him, knocking him into the dirt before he even touched her. By then, neighbors had come out with phones recording everything. I could hear people shouting, "They're trespassing! Call the cops!" That was the moment the tide turned. Rachel's calm, the dog's discipline, and the neighbor's cameras exposed the whole setup. Marjorie shrieked, "This is assault! Your animals are out of control," but everyone could see the truth. The only reason her men weren't torn apart was because Rachel had them under perfect command. I stepped forward, then my own phone recording. "No, Marjorie. Under state law, liability doesn't apply when dogs defend their handler from trespassers committing a crime. And you just filmed your own people attacking my wife." Her face cracked. Her confidence evaporated as murmurs rippled through the crowd. By the time the sheriff's deputies pulled up, Marjorie had switched into full victim mode. She waved her phone and shrieked, "They set their attack dogs on us. These animals are weapons. I demand they be destroyed." Her thugs groaned on the sidewalk, clutching bruised arms and ribs avoiding the deputies' eyes. Rachel calmly clipped leashes onto Titan and Nova, both dogs sitting obediently at her side like nothing had happened. Their composure spoke louder than her hysteria. I handed one deputy my phone. "You'll want to see this." The video showed everything: the trespass, the threats, the lunge toward Rachel, and the dogs responding only to protect her. The deputy didn't even finish the clip before he snapped the phone shut and said, "Ma'am, you and your associates are under investigation for criminal trespass and assault. Those dogs didn't attack without cause. They defended their handler from an imminent threat." Marjorie's face drained of color. "That's not true. The HOA authorizes." The deputy cut her off. "HOA rules don't supersede state law. You had no authority to enter their property or put your hands on anyone. Frankly, you're lucky those dogs are disciplined. A lesser animal could have done permanent damage." Neighbors erupted in cheers, some clapping, some whistling, phones still recording. The deputies cuffed Marjorie right there on the sidewalk. Her men were loaded into the cruiser, whining louder than before. Titan sat tall, ears forward, chest out, like he knew he'd just done his job. Nova glanced at Rachel, waiting for her next command, tail wagging lightly. Rachel knelt and hugged them both, her face fierce but proud. I told her quietly, "They didn't just protect you. They exposed her for what she really is." She nodded, whispering, "They're not just dogs. They're family." That day changed our neighborhood. The HOA's reign of intimidation broke like glass. People who'd been too scared to speak before finally had proof, and the community felt lighter, freer, safer. But me, I know Marjorie. She's not the type to take a loss quietly. Even as they hauled her away, I could see the calculation in her eyes. This fight may not be over, not by a long shot. So tell me, was it justice that the dogs defended Rachel the way they were trained? Or do you think animals should never be used in these kinds of confrontations? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I'm curious where people stand when it comes to family property rights and what it really means to defend yourself. And if you've ever seen an HOA try to pull something like this, share your story down below. I guarantee you're not the only one.